So you need to ask for what you want, and no one is just going to hand it to you because you believe that you deserve it. And that goes for everything. I've always been like a very hard worker, and never once did I ever ask for a raise, and never once did I get a raise, because no matter how hard I worked, I was still willing to work for like X amount of money that I was making. So until you actually go out of your way and say, hey, I'm worth this and I want this, nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to...
No. Like, straight up.
I mean,
no, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Chemical X podcast.
I'm Alessia.
I'm Veronica. And as usual, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment down below. We love to hear what you have to say. And also, if you're feeling so kind, so generous in this new year, please leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcast and on Spotify.
It's a new year. How are you feeling?
New year, new me. No.
New year, same
I don't believe
fucking...
in that.
Yeah. You believe that a new year really starts on your birthday?
I don't believe in that either.
So what do you believe, Veronica?
I don't know. I'm just the same
our
bitch every
episode
time.
today is not going to make sense.
I mean, look, I think that I don't think that you need to wait for like a defining period in time. I think it makes it better.
Shut up. We know that. We know that.
But like, I think that if you want to change, you can change anytime you want, baby girl.
Yes. But we love a date to just, remind us and put us in check.
100%.
So since it's a new year, guys, we figured what better time than, as Veronica and I are getting older. We're not in we're like in our late 20s.
You're 27.
That's fucking rude. I think like you're really disrespectful.
Well, I never said I was nice.
Wow, you really were the Grinch.
Well, I really ruined your day with that. Don't be I actually ruined your mood. I'm so sorry.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm 27 just yet.
Well,
but
you are technically when this is coming out. And that's why I said it. It's like, now you gotta act like you're 27 right now. How do you feel being 27?
Fuck off.
100%.
You know what? You know what they say, older and wiser? I actually feel wiser.
Good. You're also older.
Laugh till you start crying.
100%. So when I'm having a bad day, there's one thing that I could do that always makes my day just so much better.
What is it?
Online shopping.
Oh, you could never go wrong with some online shopping. Someone pisses you off? Well, guess what's going to be pissed off? Your bank account.
100%. It's like, why should I cry if my bank account can also cry with me?
You know what I mean?
And if you're looking for a place to, let out your anger, let out your sadness, I have the perfect site for you to get all jeweled up. You're going to head over to Every Jewels and check out the wide range of jewelry they have. They also have some accessories like phone cases, tote bags, cute little sets, pretty much everything you need to make yourself feel better if you're just having a bad day.
And if you're having a good day and you want to have an even better day, then check out Ever Jewels, guys. We're giving you a discount code ChemicalX at checkout to receive 20% off anything on the website. So your bank account's going to cry with you, but not as much as you think.
And like, we're just making your day that much better because we're giving you a discount code. So now it's like you could, use your unhealthy coping mechanism in a good way. But no, guys, as Alessia said, we are pushing, we're closer to our 30s than our 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, what a better time than to talk about things we wish we knew sooner. So things that we wish we knew kind of in our early 20s. So maybe if you're there, or maybe you're our age, or maybe you're any age, there's always something new to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just some things that we've learned along the way that, maybe we wish we would have known them sooner.
Yeah.
Maybe we wished we would have known them sooner.
Yeah. And some of these things are still things we're working on too.
Oh, for sure.
But would have loved to know, like,
I mean, there's things I learned 2 minutes ago that are on this list.
Well, I'm glad we're open and honest here.
I mean, look.
We look through, we're like, okay, yeah, that would be good to say. So I guess we learned that too.
100%. Well, I do want to talk about, though, and I think that this is interesting. Good that you think you're interesting. I think that this is interesting is when I was talking about this, I was like, oh, hey, like, Ale,
Yeah, I was
The
like,
fuck? Hey, Ale.
I think my name changed at 27.
Yeah. I called Leslie and I was like, look, I think we should do an episode on like things that we wish we knew sooner, things we wish we knew in our early 20s. And she was like, yeah, that's really cool. Except what are you going to say? And I was like, you know what? It's so funny because
I have to Google it now.
Until I looked up this topic, I never took the time to really sit back and think of the things I wish I knew earlier.
Yeah.
I've known that I've learned things, but I've never thought about like, fuck, I wish I knew this earlier.
You never like sat down to be like, oh, wow, yeah, that would have been great to know. And with all of that being said, you know, like, obviously we can sit here and say it would be so nice. It would be so awesome. It would be so cool to know these things earlier. But at the same time, you know, you have to go through it to learn it. But, you know, if anyone's, you know, younger and wants a little Spark Notes version,
here it is.
Here it is.
But yeah, totally agree. I mean, look, I don't regret anything. And like, I think everyone has to live their path and learn things. But, you know, doesn't hurt to get an FYI every now and then. You know what I mean? Well, I want to know because you're ready to take off. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in my soft girl era with this. Like, this outfit. It's very like Skims. Like, I'm like, I'm feminine. And
I'm like, literally like, are we taking off?
Yeah. 100%.
Let's go.
You're like,
it's kind of my energy though.
180 is slow.
I'm 27, but I'm still ready to jet and leave and get out of here. So what the hell are some things we
get
learned?
Comfy? Good.
You know
get
what?
Comfy.
I am gonna get comfortable because
until we watch the tape back,
and I realize I'm a guy with my leg up. You know what? That's what I learned at 27. Nobody's fucking perfect. If I can sit here and be comfortable, I don't give a fuck.
Good. Be yourself.
You know what I mean? No, I kind of care. Like, I'm gonna hate myself for the whole hour of this podcast if my leg's up. I've always thought that my 20s were my years to get naked, to go on as many trips as I want to really live my 20s because I'm only young once, which, you know, in some ways I appreciate and I'm happy like I do. But in the same beat, I'm realizing that, yeah, as much as I want to say like 20s are the years where, you know, you should enjoy your life, you should travel, you should do all these things. It's also the years where you should grind the most. Because at the end of the day, like any girl should be comfortable enough to walk away from anything and be financially stable and have it good on their own. Right. So I think 20s are really the years where you can actually focus on yourself. And basically the 20s are for pursuing your dreams. So going after what you want. And I know we always think 20s are the years we have to do everything and just like party, but it's actually the years where I wish I knew this earlier on in my 20s, because I feel like the beginning of my 20s I fucked around where I was like, I have time, I could do whatever I want, there's so much time, like I have the rest of my life. Yeah, you have the rest of your life, but also life gets more difficult as the years go by. And then you get older, you want different things, you have a family, and then it becomes a lot harder to kind of gamble on what you're doing in your life and like what you want. And it's a lot easier to like focus and grind in your 20s because you don't have as many commitments. Right. So I think what I learned is that if you're in your young 20s, don't think you have so much time. You do, but you should
don't think you have so much time.
But you should really never think like, oh, I have so much time to do this, because situations happen, you grow up, and then you find yourself in other situations. So really, while you have the time to actually take a risk and gamble on something that you're gonna love pursuing, whether it be job, anything, do it when you're in your early 20s, and don't think I'm too young, I have so much time. Like really grind then so that you could really live a sick life.
And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, like you said, like your 20s, you're young, it's the time to party.
Yeah.
But it's also like the most stressful time of your life.
For sure.
And I was watching a video of this girl talking, and she's like, you know, it's so funny because I always thought that my 20s would be like the funnest, craziest times of my life. But actually, now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like the most happy and relaxed I've ever been, because I'm finally at a place where I'm like stable. I'm not worrying about what I'm doing. I'm not worrying about like how I'm going to make money, where I'm going to go. And I'm like, you know what? It's so fucking true. Like we're so worried about our 30s as if like the fun stops when you're 30. But if anything, it only gets more fun because you figured out what you needed to figure out, and you're just in a better place and actually have more time to have fun.
Yeah. And I think something I also like battle, you know, for example, this podcast, I'd be like, hey, we started at, you know, what was it, 23, 24? I go, wow, fuck. Like we're just starting to kind of get to where we want to with this podcast 3 years in. But I go, fuck, what if we would have started at 20? You know, like we would have probably already been there. We would have been ahead of people who were in the game of podcasts. So it's just like,
yeah, but what if we started now?
Exactly.
You know?
And that's what I wanted everyone to know. It's like, just start. But also, if you're thinking about something now, don't wait for the sky to fall.
Right.
Just start.
And also in the same thing, like I feel like people have so much pressure to live a crazy like early adulthood. Like they feel like they need to go out to all the parties, they need to do all the traveling, because like once you're older, you're not going to do that. But like if you're not happy doing those things and you feel like you're forcing yourself to go out, or you feel like you're only going because you feel like you need to,
and you want to live a life where you're like, my 20s were sick,
but like in reality you're realizing that you're doing shit and you're not even enjoying it. Like I think it's important to have like a realization on that, because there's been a lot of phases that I found myself in just doing things because the opportunity was there and because I didn't know how to say no to it, because I was just like, well, I might as well, I'm young, like I might as well go out. And sure, yeah, sometimes they end up being the funnest nights ever, but a lot of the times you end up doing something that you don't necessarily want to do and isn't bringing you peace or happiness or anything forward. You're actually just leaving with a hangover, you know? And I think for a long time, this is something that I would see you doing, is like taking a lot of trips and like taking every opportunity to go on a trip. And then like you would always be like stressed about like the things that you had to like rush to do or like figure out before going on that trip. And then it was making you so stressed to do everything in order to go on that trip.
Because I'm trying to like balance work, life, and living in my 20s.
Right.
Where it's like, babe, figure out your situation and then you're gonna be able to do all of that.
And like I think that's where I personally found like a happy medium. Like I would always be the first one to say yes to something, but also I was very capable of being like, no stress, I'm gonna sit this trip out because I have to work, I have to do this, I need this organized. And I've been to Miami 10 times. I don't actually want to go. And like I'm sure you know this, that I've said no to so many opportunities to go on trips because I was like, I don't even care that much to go. Why should I like jeopardize like and make myself more stressed and put more pressure on myself to go somewhere that it's not necessarily something new? And I had made this kind of like thing with myself where it's like, unless I really want to go, or unless it's like a new place that I'm going to, like I don't want to spend my money and my time going to a place that I've already been to. And like I don't personally feel like I'll gain that much. Like sure, yeah, it'll be fun, but am I gonna gain any new experiences, anything new? Probably not, you know? So in those situations, I really didn't have FOMO watching all my friends go and staying back, because I knew that like what I was doing was the right decision for me. And I think that's what's really important for people to know, is like do what feels right for you, and don't do it because of like the outside pressure or the pressure to like live it up. Like,
yeah, I think in a certain kind of way I was doing it for myself. I just think now, having done it, I'm just more like learning how to say no. And I think that's one of our second ones, more of mine. It's like knowing my limit, knowing when to say no. And it's just that powerful no is just so good for you. Like it's just, you're just in tune with yourself, and you're like, Alessia, if I go, this is what's going to happen. And like, just scale yourself back and be like, no, I'm not going to go. Even like, you know, when I got out of my relationship, I was like, I'm going to go on trips. I'm going to like live my life. And now it's like someone will ask me to go and I'll be like, no. Why?
Yeah.
You know, like, but that's comes with growing up. But I think having enough willpower to say no to things, even if you might enjoy it, for the bigger picture, is like really big.
I think that there's two phases that we go through in our 20s. And the first lesson is learning how to say yes. So learning how to take opportunities and having the freedom to do that, because I think that's something that comes with getting into your early 20s, is like suddenly you have all this freedom to go on the trips, to go anywhere you want to go, to party as long as you want, because you're an adult now, you know, you've got that freedom. So you learn how to say yes to opportunities. It could be new jobs, even anything like that. You learn how to take opportunities you're scared of, but then you need to, at a certain point, learn the second lesson, which is learning when to say no. Yeah. And I think that's so important, because sometimes people become yes men and they can't get out of that. And they find themselves doing a lot of stuff that they just can't say no to, and that puts them in a bad place. So as much as I think it's good to say yes and to experience, I think it's only good for a certain amount of time. And then you need to be able to say no.
For sure.
And that being said, I don't think that you should be like, I'm not gonna like, I'm gonna save my partying for when I'm 30 and like not go on the trips and take this. Like, no, learn how to live a life of like moderation and like still do things that make you happy. Like, you know that me and Alessia will still go out, we'll still live it up. Like, we still do a lot, and I have lived a really crazy early 20s, and I don't take away anything from it, but I did know when to stop, and I did know when to scale it back and when to start saying no. And I think that those two things are really important.
But
to
would
know
you say
together.
would you say it's still something you struggle with? I still think we both do things sometimes that we don't necessarily want to do. I don't feel like it's just a me thing. I think
No, it's on my list too.
It's like it's our generation kind of thing.
So for me, it actually comes in two ways. And there's one way that I would say I learned last year, and there's one way that I'm learning this year. Okay. And it's a really important new lesson that I've recently learned.
Let's hear it.
So the first way is learning to say no to like opportunities that were like job opportunities, because I found myself in a place where I was saying yes to everything because it was so like cool and exciting to get all these opportunities that I didn't know how to say no to them. But then I was finding myself stressed and overworked and doing too much.
Yeah.
So I had to really force myself and like make myself pick and choose what I wanted to do and say no to things. And after a year of probably doing that, because I had said this last year on our New Year's episode, after a year of doing that, like I feel so much better, because everything that I am doing in my life right now, I'm really happy to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm not overworked. I do work a lot, but everything that I'm doing, I like doing.
Right, which doesn't feel quote unquote as work.
Right. And now the second thing that I'm really pushing myself to learn this year is learning how to say no when I'm doing something that benefits other people. So I don't know really how to,
because you're like
say that
kind of a people pleaser, and you sometimes you say yes because you're like, I don't want this person to like kind of, you know, get mad that I'm not coming, for example.
But it's just like recently I've been making decisions or certain things that I've always known that I've kind of done that, but like I'll make a decision and choose to do something and it really won't make me happy, and it'll actually make me the opposite. It'll feel really out of line with my personality. It really won't sit well with me, but I'll still go through with it and still do it regardless of the fact that I don't want to do it, because I'm too afraid to say no to all the people that want me to do it. Okay, so like let's say it's a group thing. It's like I'm too afraid to like disappoint all these people by not doing it because of whatever outcome might be. Maybe they can't do it, whatever it is. I still will push myself to do it and then find myself in a place where I'm not happy and like I'm not feeling good. And then that's what I'm kind of trying to do this year, is like not doing anything that I don't want to do. And like I don't care who it affects. I don't care who has to lose out on it. And it's about being selfish, but I'm tired of putting myself and making myself feel like shit because I can't say no to something. You know what I mean?
And it's like, it's such a disgusting battle within yourself
so
too,
because you're like, I don't want to.
Sometimes it's like the littlest things, you know, like I wake up and it's like I have a whole plan of what I'm doing, and then my friend calls me and they're like, okay, let's do breakfast, and I know I have to be like, Alessia, what did you tell yourself right before this call? You're waking up, this is your plan. And it's like, if I go to breakfast, I'm mad at myself. I'm like, you went against what you said. So it's like when you make a decision and then you cross it, you're not happy doing it, so you're even more angry at yourself because you couldn't find it within yourself to say no. So it's just such a toxic circle, and it's like I just need to be more in tune with myself and listen to my gut and what I actually want.
And that's exactly me. Like the same breakfast thing, it's like I'll have a friend who I'm more afraid of saying no to because they'll get mad at me if I do say no. So then I end up saying yes to a lot of things that I don't want to do. I literally don't want to do them, but then I do and I go. And
it sounds like the stupidest thing.
It
just
sounds
a breakfast,
stupid, but it's like,
if you can't do those little things of breakfast, how can you do life?
The big things, you know. And I feel like recently I've got myself into situations where I was just like, I don't want to do this, and then I've convinced myself to do it for some fucking reason. I don't know why, and then I'm like so unhappy and so regretting my decision. And
they say like a habit takes 21 days in order to kind of like fix it, and it's kind of just keeping yourself in check and being like, you know, it's even with like budgeting and stuff, like you want to buy this thing, but you're like, no, I said 21 days. I'm not going to spend anything. I'm not going to do anything. And it's like holding yourself accountable for those 21 days will make it easier afterwards. It's like getting out of the cycle, and like tricking your mind takes 21 days. So I was like, I really want to start and see how that works for me. But every time I try, I fucking fail, fucking fail all the time.
I mean, I think it's one of those things that you restart a couple of times before you hit the 21 days. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I think it takes a couple of 21 chunks to actually
I love 21.
I mean, speaking of things I wish I knew, I wish that I started being better with my money earlier.
Yes.
That's for sure. Like, that's just a quick one that I just want to throw in there. Is like, when I was younger, it was like you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't give a fuck. But then, like, looking back now, I'm like, damn, if only I wasn't a fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if only I just did
absolutely
what, like, every bank advisor says and, like, just put $100 aside.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
We, like, think, and that's, like, we think that $100 doesn't do anything. And then,
Yeah.
like, when you really think about how many years went by when you were younger and how much you could have actually saved, you're like, fuck.
I'm a loser, man.
And invested that.
So if you're listening and you're, like, early 20s or even younger than that, put your fucking money aside because
Oh my God.
future you will thank you. Because
Yeah.
future me right now is pissed off.
Yeah,
I
another
still
one.
haven't started doing it.
Another one for me is like not spending money on like designer items. I'm kind of really scaling it back, and now I tell myself like, oh yeah, I want this bag, but like
I'll get it when I'm rich.
I'll get it when I'm rich, or like someone will get me it.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna go out of my way when I'm still not where I want to be to get that. Like I want to buy a triplex before I buy a fucking Chanel bag. You know what I mean? Like. It's dumb. It's like I even still look at my bags and I'm like,
Was it worth it?
What? Why?
Yeah.
For what? To please other people? Like I know I do. Like I love it and I completely enjoy it. But it's like, I don't know. It's dumb decisions that you're just like, no, I'm not gonna spend $1,000 on another pair of shoes. Like I'm just gonna buy like $100 pair and that's it.
And that's
like,
the reality is like I wear my like $2 shoes
all the time.
I wear my cheapy little online store Fashion Nova shoes
more than I ever
10 billion times more.
Like,
I actually don't think I wear my expensive
I
heels.
never do.
I never wear my
I look at
expensive
them
heels.
and I go, yeah, back in the day I did, but like I don't know, I'm also like changing in my styles and trends that like I prefer to just buy things that are like fast fashion and like cheaper because I outgrow things often.
Right.
So,
And it's like we're at a place where our money matters to us and like
Yeah.
we don't have that expendable income. And like I'm like that too. Like I've scaled it back a lot with like buying certain things
Yeah.
and like going all out. And like even with my car, I've been wanting to upgrade it and everyone's always like telling me, what are you doing with this car? And I'm like, you know what? Like until one of fucking you is paying for my car,
Yeah.
that's when you guys get a say on what car I'm driving. You know what I mean? Because it's like I did my thing where I spent a lot of money on a car and I'm like, you know what? Until I'm at the place where like I'm not even looking at how much this car costs, I'm not gonna upgrade. And I know that's gonna happen soon, so it's fine.
you don't realize when you make impulsive decisions, but then when it affects your life, you're like, you know?
Totally agree. So my next point, and it's something that is really important, and I would say that I've been putting it into practice in recent years and just been like so proud of myself for doing this. And it's like, wow, if only I knew this earlier, it would have helped me so much. But you know, you live and you learn. So my next point and lesson is
I was recently hooking up with this guy and I just love the fact that he was shaved down there. Like, thank you for taking the time to, you know, shave down there and make my night just more enjoyable.
well, thank you for taking the time to do the bare minimum.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
That's what we expect these days. And boys, if you're not on, you know, the bare minimum, let me tell you, because we want the bare minimum.
minimum.
Bare.
So if you can't even do that, like, don't even hit me up.
100%. So if you're not looking bare down there, then head over to Manscaped because they are the best in below the waist grooming. So anything you need to get that situation under control, they have it. Whether it's ball deodorant, whether it's a razor, whether it's nose and ear hair trimmer, they have everything you need. And on top of that, we have a discount code for you.
Jesus, it's like the bare minimum mixed with like the best discount code.
What more could you ask for?
Like, don't ever say that girls don't have it all together, okay? Chemical X at checkout to receive 20% off on your entire order. And guys, free shipping. I mean, look, I'm going to stop talking right now because I think as I'm talking, we're just giving you too much. So
100%. So you need to ask for what you want, and no one is just going to hand it to you because you believe that you deserve it. And that goes for everything. And I know so many people around me that feel entitled to opportunities, to raises, to job offers, to whatever it is because they feel like they deserve that. And sure, maybe you do, but unless you ask for it, you're never going to get it. And like the biggest thing is like, I know I've worked so hard just growing up, I've always been like a very hard worker, and never once did I ever ask for a raise, and never once did I get a raise, because no matter how hard I worked, I was still willing to work for like X amount of money that I was making. So until you actually go out of your way and say, hey, I'm worth this and I want this, nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to go out of their way to pass you a promotion if you don't go out there and ask for it. And I think it takes a lot of time before you're confident enough in yourself to feel like you can do those things and can ask for those things. And that's where I struggled, is like I was very afraid
I could
to
see
ask.
that. I could see that. I remember a lot of times being like, Veronica, like, ask for this. And if anything, like, it's like crazy because some people will see your worth and be like, just do it. Like they're going to give it to you. You deserve it. And I think, you've definitely struggled with that.
I definitely struggled, but I think like in recent years, I've gotten better at like being able to ask for what I want, whether it was a job, whether it was a raise, whether it was a promotion, or literally anything in life. Like, nobody's going to look at you and just be like, oh, here, I'm handing you this amazing opportunity. Nobody's going to do that. You need to go out there and ask for it yourself. You know?
Totally agree.
And like that comes with, you need to have a lot of confidence to do that, but it makes such a difference. And that's where I come into my second point, which is really important to me as well. And it's just kind of ties into that, but it's about the fact that you need to make things happen for yourself. And now, like I said, people are not just going to hand you things on silver platters. So the same thing goes for your dreams. So if you have something that you want to do, if you have a dream, if you always thought that like, oh, I always saw myself being a flight attendant, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for to achieve that thing? Because I know you're waiting for something, but what is it? You know, I was always somebody that I had a dream of living abroad somewhere. I always used to say growing up, oh, I was going to do an internship here. I was going to do an internship there. I'm going to move there. For a long time when I was in college, I said that I was going to do an internship in Paris, and I was convinced that I was going to do it. But I never actually took it seriously enough to get through the stages of saving to go to Paris, looking for a place. You know, I always did the fun stuff like like I'm in the mood to like search for what it would be like to move to Paris and search for places, but I never took it seriously. And I never ended up going because I never actually fucking did it. Because I was always waiting for like some magic sign or some magic opportunity that would lead me there. But obviously the only thing that could fucking lead me there was myself, you know? And there was another time where I really wanted to go to Paris for the weekend, and it was going to be the first trip that I was going to travel alone. I think I was like 19, and I was like, I'm just going to go to Paris for the weekend. And I had planned this whole thing. And my mom was like, are you sure? Like, you're just going to go alone? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go alone. And then I fly standby. So obviously it could be a last minute decision. And when it came down to like 2 days before going, I chickened out and I was like, no, I'm too scared. What am I going to even do there for a weekend? Like, I just let my doubts get the best of me, and I didn't go.
I hate doubts.
And I fucking hate that, you know? And like, that's that thing of like, when you're scared, just go for it. And I didn't go for it, and I missed that opportunity, and who knows what could have happened. But then the one time that I wanted something, you know, like I said, I always want to live abroad. I made the decision, I'm gonna go to Australia. I don't know how long I'm gonna go for, but I'm going, you know? And that was the first time I really made something happen for myself. It came out of nowhere, guys. I never thought about Australia in my life. It was just something that happened.
Yeah. Do you ever think like everything leads you to that? Because you were also saying you were having doubts about going to Australia, and maybe the feistiness of you hating yourself for never doing Paris really pushed you to actually go through with Australia. So sometimes things that happen lead you to why you actually pulled through for the second one.
All the time, even, you know? And it's just like Australia is the perfect example for me of like, I actually just decided with myself, like, I'm doing this. I committed to the idea. I saved my fucking money. I did everything I needed to do to get there, and I got myself there. And there was no right time. There was no perfect opportunity. There was no reason why I even chose Australia. Everybody always says like, why Australia? I don't fucking know. I literally had no reason.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I made it happen for myself, and I went out and I did that thing because I knew that I did not want to die only knowing that I've lived in one place. I just knew for myself, I needed to live and experience something else. And I went out and I fucking did it. And I didn't wait for any perfect time, for anybody to bring me there, for any job to hire me in a different place. I didn't wait for anything. I created the opportunity for myself, and that's why I achieved it. And like I watch so many people say they want to do things and never do them because they're waiting for it to happen to them. And I'm like, things don't happen to you. They just don't. Anything worth happening doesn't happen to you.
I have a friend who's like, fuck, I just wish I was born in a rich family. it's like you have the opportunity to become rich. You have a better life than a lot of people. Like learning to also be appreciative of what you do have in order to get more is like another important thing.
Definitely.
Because
important.
like, you can always look at other people and go, fuck, I wish I was them. And sometimes we can look at other people, other families, and be like, I'm so jealous of her. Like she has the best life. But then think about the things that you might have that they don't. You know, like
or that someone else
doesn't have. Because like sometimes, you know, they grow up and they didn't have like the emotional support from like family members. It's like you don't grow up and have it all. It's like sometimes the most fucked up people are the ones who you think have it all together. So like, you know, when I look into like, you know, my family, I'm so happy I have a very supportive family, and I know a lot of people don't have that. So it's like, take the good with the bad. Like you don't get everything in life, but you have to understand that like there are things that you got growing up that other people didn't get, and it's not always financial.
Right. I totally agree with you. And I think also just like recognizing like your privilege is really important.
Yeah.
And also another point that I had written down is, and this is something that I feel like everyone is constantly struggling with, but it's just something to recognize. And, you know, especially if I knew this earlier and started working on this earlier, it would have helped me a lot. And it's just to stop looking for validation and like stop trying to please everyone around you. Because in reality, like if you're always looking for people to validate what you're doing, it's probably not worth doing even, because the coolest things and the best things and the things that are going to bring you so far are the things that people are going to judge you for, the things that people are going to bring you down about, and the things that people are not going to believe in you for doing. So if you're always looking for that validation, there's so many things you're not going to do because people are going to put in your mind that you either can't achieve them, or it's stupid, or it's not worth it, or whatever it is, you know. Like I really truly believe the best decisions and the biggest successes are things that people doubted you about. The things that are worth achieving are always the things that everyone is too scared to do, and they'll likely bring you down in that fear. And if you stop worrying about what everybody else thinks of what you want to do and pleasing everybody else and doing all this shit for everyone else, actually just forget about everyone else's opinion, you're going to live a much happier, much more stress-free life, and you're going to achieve a lot more. Like I think that's what happened with this podcast. It, you know, because we were in a place where we started it and we were in lockdown and we weren't seeing anyone and we didn't have to face anyone, it almost felt like that blanket of like freedom where you didn't have to feel people's opinions in real life in front of you.
So true.
So it's probably a reason that it was easier. And you know, like over time you learn to do things without caring about people's judgment. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, we got so much judgment when we started this podcast. Like I'm sure even now people still talk shit about us, but the reality is I'm so grateful and I'm so proud of what we've achieved that it's like, and so many people have turned around and started supporting us. The same people that spoke shit about us turned around and started supporting us. And if that doesn't tell you enough that like you should go for what you want to do and fuck what people think, because the reality is the people that are hating on you are the same people that would never do it themselves.
It's always the people who hate that are just angry and bitter with themselves because they're just never gonna do it. And it's just like easy to hate, but it's also very hard to start. So
it's very hard to do it, but it's very fucking easy to hate.
Oh my God. And like, for example, you know, when we started, like my family members were like, what do you do? Like, it's a bit like, what are you doing? You know, now my brother just came back from Portugal and I was like, we're catching up because we haven't seen each other in a while. And he's like, how's your podcast going? And like, now, you know, a lot of people are recognizing us, and it's weird because it's like, well, yeah, duh, we've been around for 3 years. But to a lot of people who meet me, they're like, I saw you started a podcast. And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's been 3 years, but
yeah,
I mean, thanks. It's crazy. And even for my brother, I was like just going over like what we're kind of making now. And he was like, what? Like, that's sick. That's amazing. Like, oh my God. And it's like, sometimes people won't believe in you and they won't understand where there's money to be made. Allow people to also grow with you.
And I agree with that. I think for so long, like, and I think everyone that like strives for success a little bit has that like dark energy that I remember that Nima was talking about, where it's like you want to prove 95% everyone wrong, you know. And like I get it and I do agree, but to a certain extent I do think you need to have that element of like not holding everyone to the fact that they didn't believe in you and allowing them to come back around. And I totally do, because I'm like, yeah, like you want to come back around, like come back around. There's always a place for you, because I'm sure that everyone has experienced that, where like I'm sure there's been times where I didn't believe in someone and then they proved me wrong, and it's like, you know what, fuck yeah, prove me the fuck wrong. You know what I mean? Like go for it.
Sometimes you need someone to be like, you can't do this, for you to be like, watch me. You know, it's just what it is.
And just like really the point of that is I let so many times people's opinions stop me from doing things. I know like this is such a random example, but for the longest time, like the people around me and like, you know, my old relationships would like look negatively on like working in clubs and like bottle waitressing and stuff, but that was always something that I wanted to do because I am a very social, I like to be in the nightlife, I like the excitement and like dressing up and getting glammed up. That's something for me, and to other people it might sound stupid, but it makes me happy and I really enjoy doing it. And for a long time I denied myself the ability to do it because I thought people were going to think badly of me, people were going to judge me, nobody would want to date me anymore. And then, you know, I came back from Australia and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Like, I don't care about what any of these people think. Like, you're not me at the end of the day. Like, what is your opinion to me? And, you know, when I started living for me and doing shit for me, that's when I was so happy. And when I came back from Australia, I was fully in that vibe of like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And it really kickstarted that like energy of not caring what people thought, and I've never been happier.
Sometimes you have to go against something that you set a standard for yourself and you're like, I'm never gonna do, you know, and now you're doing it, and it becomes easier with everything in life after, when you kind of like see what it was like to just overcome something you thought you would never do, and then everything in life just becomes like, oh well, I could do that again, I could do that again. So,
and it's really making that one tough decision is what makes you realize that nothing changes. It's like you realize that all the people you were afraid of disappointing, their opinions don't fucking matter anyways. So it's like you disappointed them maybe, but like who even are they? You know what I mean?
I just look at it like we're literally all gonna die, and if you're dying and you're not gonna do something because of what someone thought, like that's so fucking sad. Like, everyone's gonna die and you're not gonna do what you wanted to do when no one cares about you when you're dead. So just live up whatever you want to do, because who cares?
And like the freedom you're going to feel when you start living for yourself. And I know so many people, and I know I keep bringing up the club example, but I would say that it's probably like, even with the podcast too, like a lot of people will be like, how do you do it? Like, especially with like clubbing, like the waitressing, people will be like, you know, I always wanted to work in a club, but like, you know, like, what does your boyfriend think? What is this thing? Like, people will like always ask those questions. And I'm like, but why do you want to do it? Are you excited to do this? Then fucking do it.
So yeah, that brings me back to my next point. I don't have the effort to start telling someone like, you could do it, babe. You go out there and like motivate people. That's just not my vibe anymore. And like, maybe we do it throughout like having the podcast and like sharing, you know, fun stuff with people who listen. But having to tell people like, you should just do it, go ahead and do it, feels like it always brings me down. I'm on a path where like the people I'm around better match that energy or push me further, or I'm not going to be the person who's like, do it, babe.
Yeah.
I just can't do it anymore. That's literally turning 26, 27. Like if you're on the same vibe, cool. We're going to agree with a lot. We're going to get along. We're going to be able to like do life together. But if we're not, I'm just going to get depressed being around you. And it's just like me saving my energy and like, I don't know. And
like, look, I get it. There's a lot of times where people will go through things, but it's just like having that person around you that's constantly like doubting themselves and negative energy and not believing in themselves. Like at a certain point, like who you are will become, like who you surround yourself will become you. And like, I totally agree with you. Like I'm so grateful to have a friend group that we're all like, I never have to worry if somebody's working hard enough. It's like I always know that everybody has these big dreams and they're doing whatever they want to do, and like everyone is at their own pace, and that's fine. But I know that I never need to like push someone to like do the bare minimum. Like it's like I know that everybody's hustling, and like that's cool, and I like having that energy around me. And like the people who aren't so much, I end up distancing myself from them anyways, because it's like we're not seeing eye to eye with life right now. We're not in the same space, you know?
Yeah. When you're around people who all want similar things or are working towards similar goals or just wanting more for themselves. And I know like a friendship shouldn't be transactional, but
in a way, if every relationship and friendship is transactional, I know it sounds fucked up to say, but if you're not getting anything from somebody, it wouldn't exist. Like you have to be getting some sort of something. Like there has to be either motivation or like emotional support or like friend, I don't know, going out with them. There has to be something that you're gaining from having an interaction with somebody, or else it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You know? So it is transactional. And if like the only transaction we're doing is me giving and you taking all the time, like that's not chill. You know what I mean? And that goes with one of my points, actually. One of my lessons is not every friend has to be a best friend. So I think like it's important to know where people fit in your life. And like also I don't so much agree with like the whole like cutting out a friend and Xing out a friend thing. That's never been my personality.
Never.
And I get why people do it, but I also think like
it's
knowing
more of like
where somebody fits.
Fizzle out.
Yeah, let them fizzle out, but also like knowing where somebody fits in your life is like important. Like knowing that it doesn't have to be like you're either in or you're out. It's like you can be here for like a certain thing and I'm not going to expect more out of you because I know what role you play in my life, and I'm not going to put so much energy and expectations on you when I know that that's not what you're going to provide for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to know like what roles the people around you play and not expecting something from somebody that you know you're not going to get it, because you're just going to get disappointed every single time.
Absolutely. I think the older you get, you realize like I don't really care.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that I wrote down is like, you know, when you're younger, like especially I think back to like high school, it's like these little problems that affected me so much and these people that affected me so much. It's like I think like I haven't seen these people in 10 fucking years. Their opinion means literally fucking nothing to me. Literally actually zero.
Nothing.
And it's so funny how it's so hard to see in those moments how like these dramas and these things could feel so important, and what people think about you could feel so important. But those people, everyone's going to grow up and no one's going to care about you anymore. Like getting in my late 20s, you realize, yeah, like you learn to like stop caring about what people think, but you also realize that nobody actually cares about you. Like everybody is worried about their own fucking shit and nobody cares anymore. And that goes in my point, which is just like, you know, like these people don't matter, and also don't feel tied down to like a certain thing. Like I know people grow up with like a certain group and then they feel like that's my group because I always hung out with them and like I've known them since I'm in kindergarten, and they feel like they need to continue this friendship.
But what if
it's
you
like
change?
That's who they are. But the reality is like as you grow, you change as a person, and it's okay to make new friends. It's okay to change your style. You're going to redefine yourself so many times growing up, especially in your 20s. Like I've become so many different people, and I've enjoyed and liked all of them, but they have been drastically different people that I've become until I've found the kind of me that fits. And I'm still changing. Like I know that in 3 years from now and 4 years from now, I will be like always changing and always adapting and always growing.
I'm just thinking to like a year ago when I did this look with my makeup and I say, who the fuck is that girl? You know exactly
100%.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
What you're talking about.
I put diamonds on my eyeballs, diamonds on the bottom eyes, and I was like, who is that?
But like
that's not me. So yeah, you could look back. Sometimes you'd be like, I liked every part, or you could be like me and be like,
hate every part.
I literally don't know who that girl is. That is not Alessia.
100%. But like I just don't, I think people feel the pressure to like, this is my friend group, this is my style, this is who I am. And like it's so not fucking true. Like you change so much. You could change it literally tomorrow. If I want to dye my hair pink, I actually can. And that's what people don't realize is like you have the ability to do whatever you want to do. So if you're not happy with
leaving the friend group,
I'm like, this is where I say bye.
I feel like I'm dyeing my hair pink and fuck all you bitches.
But it's like, if you like, you can just wake up tomorrow and do what you want, you know? Like if you don't like your friends,
change your style
wherever you are. If you don't like your friends, if you don't like your hair, if you don't like your style, you actually have the fucking ability to change it, and nobody cares if like, but that's not your style. But bitch, it is now. You know what I mean? Like do whatever you want. Nobody can hold you to a fucking invisible standard of like, this is your style, this is how you should look, these are who your friends are. You're always going to change that shit, and like just don't feel tied down to the person you've created for yourself.
Don't feel tied down to anything.
But like I just know for me, I felt like I was tied down to this specific person, and then when I left for Australia and I came back, I felt like I had that like clean slate where I could like not reintroduce, I sound so fucking dramatic, but it just feels like when I went to Australia,
let me reintroduce myself, my name is B.
That was me when I came back. But like when I went to Australia, I really had the blank slate of being able to be whoever I wanted. So when I came back, I really felt in my element. And like, unfortunately, it took me leaving the fucking country to do that. But like, you just know you could still do it in the same country.
And then how long till you were swayed back? 2 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks. No, but it's just like, I feel like so much we feel like we're stuck, but we have so much freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. Is like, you have the freedom to be anyone, to look anyway, to do whatever you want.
Another one for me is just learning that everything is going to be okay. Just think about situations that happen, and then when you overcome them and you're like, I can't believe I was freaking out about that thing back then, and now I'm just like, why was I freaking out about it? So just learning that like nothing actually really matters. No one really knows what they're doing, and go in with that energy, because sometimes going in with the energy of like nobody knows what they're doing, maybe they do, but just that energy just makes you feel more confident in knowing that nobody knows what they're doing. Let me shoot my shot and let me try it out. Because if you go in with the energy of everyone's better than me, I'm not suited for this position, you're never going to try. So just fucking go in with everyone's naked and everyone
I'm naked too.
And everyone doesn't know what they're doing. So
I agree.
But it's
with
actually
that.
life though. Like, does anyone really know what they're doing?
Nobody knows. And I don't know why we assume that everybody else knows. And I've lived like that for so long, where I would always think, oh, but they're better and they know what they're doing. And I swear, guys, you grow up, you start working in companies, and it's like you look at other people and go, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And like, do you know what you're doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what are we all doing here? Like, I swear to God,
it's the weirdest
always gonna
realization.
It's always going to feel like everyone else knows what they're doing. And yeah, sure, there's probably a lot of things that I know how to do that someone else doesn't know how to do. And yeah, maybe
but
those
in
are
the
my
grand
assets.
scheme of things,
Nobody fucking knows when the path is and where and how, and it's just
we're
a
all
mess.
just figuring it out. We don't
Exactly.
know. To people who never started, it's like we know what we're doing, but we don't know what we're doing. We don't even know what we're saying. We don't know. And another one is trusting your gut. Your gut is almost always right.
Yeah.
So
The scary thing is though, I find that's hard for me, especially with somebody that I have a lot of anxiety, that like sometimes you mix up what your gut is telling you and what's just like an anxious thought and like just feeling anxious over something. So that's really tricky. And then
but that's
also,
when you know you have to do it.
well, see, that's what I'm saying. It's like the idea of like being afraid of something, you have to be able to decipher when you're just having doubts and being afraid, and when you're actually just not listening to your gut on something that's like telling you shouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? Your intuition. I think it's very hard to decipher, but you need to learn how to decipher those two different things, you know, because fear will stop you and get in the way from doing anything that's worth doing, and don't let that fucking happen. But also, if you have a gut feeling that's telling you shouldn't be doing something, then you probably should listen to it. So figure it out on your own of how to find out which one's right, which one's which. So this one's kind of a personal one, but it's something that I've learned, you know, in the last year. And I think as someone that I believe so much in like soulmates and twin flames and like spiritual and universe shit, you know, sometimes it pushes you and sometimes it brings you backwards. Okay. And I feel like in my last relationship, a part of me never had so much trouble leaving, because I had told myself so much like, this is my twin flame, this is my soulmate, this is the person that I'm meant to be with, so obviously we're gonna be together. And like, I focused so much on that I didn't see myself leaving, and I didn't see the option of leaving, because I had convinced myself that this was the perfect person for me, which made me blind to so many things. And I think I wish that I knew that you shouldn't be like that. Like, going forward, I don't want to put the pressure on myself of like, this is my person, this is my soulmate, this is my twin flame, because you know what, like, all you're doing
just
is putting yourself
pressure
in a box of saying like, okay, I'm gonna ride through anything that's gonna happen. And yes, okay, sure, like, I want to be a ride or die, but like, when you're riding and dying, like, leave. You know what I mean? Like, no,
wow,
it's enough.
That's fucking
you know what
true.
I mean? And like, that's something I really learned for myself, is I really you should take everything with a grain of salt. And that also goes for like soulmates and twin flames and stuff like that. And it's like, don't force yourself to stay in something just because in your mind it's what's meant for you. You know what I mean? Same thing with like a dream job. Like, sometimes you get your dream job and you're like, why am I not happy though? But it's my dream job, this is what I'm meant to do, but I'm not happy. You know what I mean? Like, don't put yourself in a box and tie yourself down to something just because you mentally decided that this is what's for you. You know?
Yeah. I think, for me, it's definitely, I don't feel like I've struggled with that because I don't really put myself in a box. I'm more like optimistic and like I could be dating someone and be like, I don't know what the future holds. I could really love them and I'm still like, I don't know. Like life takes weird turns and I'm kind of just more like aware in that sense. But one for me is definitely learning that like relationships should not be toxic. It should be but it's me coming out of a toxic, relationship and kind of feeling like maybe this is what love is and it's just not. And being out of it now, it's so clear to me that was not love. I mean, it was love, but it was not the kind of love I will ever have again.
Right.
And relationships should not be like that, and relationships should be easy, and two people should be putting in the same amount of work. So
I don't think that relationships are necessarily easy, but I think they're challenging because I think relationships take work.
I just talking from like my experience and what I had, it's when I'm comparing to what I'm looking for now, it's anything that I'm going to go into at this point is going to be easy.
Yeah. And I
so
get what you're
it's
saying.
going to be easy, and no matter what happens, it's still going to be easy.
Yeah.
Compared to.
I get what you're saying for sure. I just like, I do believe that like relationships do take a lot of work.
For sure.
And they can be challenging, but I don't think that a relationship should be difficult and should be draining. Like that's what I don't believe a relationship should be. And it's so true. And like, if you're in that, like, I know sometimes we put ourselves, like I said, ride or die. You put yourself in this position where it's like, I'm going to do anything for you. And like, we're going to get through the hard times. So like, sometimes the hard times are not worth getting through.
Yeah.
Sometimes there was only hard times. So like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And I think also another thing is like learning to let go of something out of the fear that there might not be something better. Like that's a big lesson for me because I feel like we hold on to things because we're like, oh, we're never going to get a better opportunity. But like, let this be living proof, me and Alessia, that there is better, whether it be a job, whether it be an opportunity, whether it be a relationship. They're literally leaving it. All you're doing, you have grown from that relationship, from that job, from that opportunity. And you're not the same person you were when you walked into it. So there's actually no way you can't move up.
If you're leaving something, you're only going
when
up.
When my hands start going in your camera frame, that's when you know I'm fucking...
Well, if you're leaving something, it could only be going up.
It could only be going up.
Because you finally made the decision and you're like, I'm making this decision. So you're just already in that happier.
I totally agree. Anyways, guys, I think like the reality is we're always learning. You know, even now, a lot of the things that are on this list are things that I'm learning now. You know what I mean? So whether you're learning them in your early 20s or you're learning them now or you're learning them when you're 40, like
it's all about self-awareness. Even if we're not fully there, but we're saying that these are things that we are, fixing or working on it, just knowing that we're aware of them is like probably 90% of the work. And I think like anyone who's listening to this and might feel like they want change, pull out a fucking journal, write down all the things that you don't like or want fixed, and then act upon them. Don't just think about them, because just thinking about them is so draining, and it's actually worse than just actually starting.
It's so true, the writing down thing, because I feel like it's so easy to think about things and you can't hold yourself accountable in your mind. But when you write something down on paper or like in your notes or something, you're like literally... the proof is there. You're like, damn, I fucking said I would do this. You know what I mean? And like, it's not just a fleeting thought. So it's so true. If you want to hold yourself accountable for something, write it down. Like,
just take a journal, write down all the things that you're not happy with, that you want fixed, and what you're going to do to change them. And then even if you don't act upon it right away, you're going to look back at that journal and be like, oh, fuck. And then sometimes you'll be like, oh, wow, I did do this. I'm so happy I pulled through on that. And then you kind of give yourself like the pat on the shoulder to be like, okay, like, because even me, when I have tasks and I get them done, I never look back and I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that's done. But sometimes taking the second to be like, okay, I still have all this, but I'm so grateful this was checked off. This was checked off. Like, we create these lists for ourselves and then we never look back to be like, this is how far we've come. So yeah,
I totally agree. And guys, hopefully you learned something or, have something to take from this episode today, but I'm sure you do.
If there's any that you feel like we missed out on or that we can learn from, write in the comments down below.
Absolutely. And as usual, thank you so much for listening. We love you and we love your support, and kisses.